everything's going to plan with all of this COVID-19 craziness. And also that during this time, you and your family are safe, and hopefully you aren't going too stir crazy with working remotely and working and not being able to go out and do things, because that's definitely a thing for me. But if you don't know me, my name is Mercedes, and I am the founder of HR for Millennials. But of course, I am also a career coach and a certified HR professional. And so if you've been in my community for a while, you know me. I like doing lives. I like sharing information with you all. Just ways that you can get ahead in your job search. And sorry, I'm looking at all of the shiny brightness in my face and all the oil. Okay, sorry. But basically I come and I do these lives, and hopefully that you get some resources to take back to your job search so that you can do better and get the job that you really want. So as promised, I am doing a series of lives all about interviewing because of course I do have a new interview workshop out that I am inviting all of you to come and join me for. I'm going to share more of the details about that at the beginning. But if you're in my group, you also probably saw today that I posted a poll about interviewing and what individuals in my group would like to learn most about interviewing. And so one of the things that they said they were most interested in learning more about was how to position themselves as top talent. So I was already talking about the STAR method and really the value add perspective in interviewing and answering your interviews. But I am going to spend some time in really aligning that with how you show up as top talent. So if you're here and you can hear me, say hello, say hi in the comments. I'm going to pick up my phone really quick so I can monitor the chat on there, see how many people are on here. I am using a system called Be Live to really do the live, but then I can't really see who's on. Everything's going to plan. Okay, so let me know if you're here. So just to get started, I want to know if you're out there, just say hey in the comments and maybe where you are in your job search. Are you just getting started? Do you have a plan? Have you really started that job search? Maybe right now you're working on your resume or you're actively going to interviews. I kind of want to know where you are in the process. And also I know that there's so many individuals out there that are really concerned about job seeking right now. And I want to tell you that HR professionals really do believe right now that right now is definitely as good a time as any to job seek. So don't stop your job search just because you feel like the economy is in recession, you won't get a job anyway. My mantra is if you see the position open and it's something that you're interested in, then apply to it. Don't worry that right now the world is dealing with the pandemic, right? Because there are some companies in here that out there that are hiring actively right now, okay? Big companies like Amazon or Chewy, or companies like Zoom that are really just thriving in this environment and their business is booming. So I was on a webinar earlier about diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace and what that really should mean for us. And I was also watching another one about the differences in COVID, right? So since we've had so much going on, with everything going on in the world, there's been so much time for me to work on personal and professional development. And hi, I see there's a couple of people on. Say hi to me in the comments. But there's so much going on in the world that people think that they shouldn't be applying, when all of the individuals that I see, whether this is the president of SHRM, the Society of Human Resources and Human Resource Management, is saying right now is as good as time as any to apply. The recruitment process has not ended. So I really want to start with giving you that encouragement. Okay, so I'm getting into interviewing stuff right now. So you're in the mindset that I can do my job search. There's nothing holding me back from moving forward. I want you to be able to use these tips, hopefully, to advance yourself in your career and your job search by better interviewing and positioning yourself as top talent. All right. Okay, so I have two people on. I really love to know who's here. So say hello in the comments and say your name. It doesn't let me know who that is otherwise. Okay. So, we're going to start with talking about the STAR method and just really talking about how that really helps position you as top talent, right? So you might be interviewing right now and there's no way for you to know who else is in the candidate pool, who else is actively interviewing, who your competition is. There's no way to do that, right? So then you're like, okay, well, how do I really position myself as top talent if I don't know what sets me apart from those individuals? Well, the truth is you'll never know. You won't know, you won't really know who those other candidates are. There's no polite way to ask that in the interview process. So what you have to do is position yourself in the best light to get the job, to be positioned as the best talent. And so the best way that you can do that is really honing in and getting clear about what sets you apart. What's unique about you? What do you know that is your knowledge, your unique skill set, your unique background? Because nobody else has that background. Doesn't matter who, what, why, or where. So that's why something that I'm super passionate about is diversity, equity, and inclusion in the recruitment process. So that's what I strongly believe. If you don't believe that, come fight me. Because I believe that without knowing you, okay? So just to start off with how you start with STAR stories and how you weave that into your interviewing as to position you as a top candidate is that you really look at your career and a lot of the amazing things that you've done in your career. So I recently released a blog post. Check that out. If you don't, let me know if you kind of want the link to review that. But the blog post is really talking about how you can really help be more confident in your interview by already coming up with these STAR stories. So you just think about some of your career highlights, like some of the things that you've delivered, some of the ways that you've made a difference, some of the things that set you apart that you're so proud of, like your biggest accomplishments in your role, the ways that you stepped out in your role that wasn't necessarily a part of your job description or things like that, like things that when you look at your career and you're like, these are my career highlights, write those things down. Those are your STAR stories, okay? So then let me tell you how to weave that into your interview so that you appear to be the best candidate for the role, right? I don't want to say appear because you probably are, right? It's fine. But so STAR stories, right? We've talked about this in our previous live. I've had lives in the past about this, but STAR is situation, task, action, and result. So when anybody ever asks you any interview question, you don't have to get worried. You don't have to figure out, oh my God, how do I answer this, right? It's formulaic, right? So you're going to use a STAR method, and then you're going to use a value add approach, which I'm going to talk about later, which requires your research, but we're going to talk about the STAR method right now. So somebody asks you an interview question. Let's do the one that's about, tell me about yourself. So you're like, okay, well, how do I answer that in the STAR method, even if you already know what the STAR method is? So how that happens is you answer the question. So you say, when somebody asks you, tell me about yourself, you're like, okay, well, this is a very brief overview of my career, right? And then you go into the STAR method. So you pick out one of those STAR stories and probably the biggest STAR story you have, the one that you're so proud of. And then you go into detail about the particular situation that you were in when you did this, the task that you actually did, the actions that you took, and ultimately the results of those steps. And of course, this is going to be something that is a highlight to you so that it's something that's impactful, that it's meaningful in your role, and something that will also be aligned to what the recruiter is looking for, right? So don't give a STAR story. Like, for instance, for me, if I was looking for a recruitment role and I started talking about a benefits example within human resources, then it's not really aligned. So that's something to think about as well when you answer interview questions. But that's really the basis of your interviewing, is where you answer the question point blank, and then you start and tell this story while also showing the results that you accomplish in your career highlight by addressing that story and that. And then next comes in the value add prospect. So the thing that people always forget to do that helps position them as top talent is that they forget to align their skill set with the position by doing their research. So let me help you understand this. So, right, I was telling you about my job search in October, right? So we'll just use me as an example. So let's say one of the questions was about, please tell me about your recruitment experience, right? So of course, I want to pick a big example in my career that I've actually done that was meaningful and impactful to where I worked. So one of the things is that I implemented an applicant tracking system in my current role. The applicant tracking system is where all of your application materials go after you apply to a role. So that was a star story that I felt was most aligned with that question. And so my point blank answer was, well, I've had this amount of recruitment experience. And on top of that, I actually created and implemented my entire recruitment process in my previous role. I can kind of tell you a little bit more about that. So for instance, we went from having 0 candidates in our candidate pool to having over 5,000 candidates that were qualified in the pipeline, waiting for new positions to be open that were relevant to our workforce. So there's things like that kind of just completely shows what was special about the thing that I did, right? So not everybody can say that they created and built a recruitment process. And I also answered the question. And then the last part of that is, I already told you the situation, the action, but what was the result? So the result is that we were actually able to hire, I think, like 200 people in a year and a half, which was not plausible at all before this applicant tracking system was put into place. So that really already shows the volume and the scope of what I was able to provide in that role. So just kind of to break that question down, that's how I walk through the STAR method. Now, the next part is the value add. So I knew when I went into my interview is that they were looking to attract, retain highly qualified candidates in multiple fields. So when I tailored my response to that, I mentioned that in my candidate pool, I had built a pipeline for multiple different roles, whether it was IT or technical or sales or administrative. And so I sold how I helped that company strategically build a pipeline of candidates for that company, and how I could also do that for the company I was interviewing for. So just to see how all of that really comes together to create this highly aligned and qualified candidate from start to finish when you answer in that structure. So just to go over it again, you're going to make sure that you have your STAR stories. Then you're going to make sure that you kind of outline each part of that STAR story in the STAR method. So the situation, the task, the action, and then the result. Then you're going to pull in some research that aligns with that from what you know about the company that you're about to interview with. So, and then you're going to give the value add, and so how you could provide value to the company in that role based on this previous experience in your STAR method. So I know that seems like it's a lot. As you go through interview questions and you start to think about, what are my STAR stories? How have I provided value in a story that is relevant to the question being asked? And go from there. And then once you start practicing, I always recommend that people go out, find their interview questions, and then write down all their STAR stories that are relevant. Flesh them out completely, every single part of the STAR story. Then align it with the company or what you've learned about the company in your research, and then how you can add value to that company based on that, right? So that's how you can write out a complete interview process in terms of preparation. But then when you go into your interview, you can really show up as top talent because you lay everything out for them. So I know it sounds really surprising that when you go into an interview and you just say, this is what I've done, isn't it great? I know it seems really counterintuitive, like, why don't they see the natural alignment? It's like, well, no. The more intuitive person, the person that's more understanding and has done better research for what the company needs, better align what they're looking for, in you as a candidate, right, you can tell them point blank, this is how I'm going to serve that need for you. And then that cuts out the guesswork. You know that you're a perfect alignment, and not all candidates are going to do that. So that's how you're going to really show up as top talent in your next interview. So I know I have a couple of people on. If you have any questions or anything that I could really clarify about how you can use the STAR method and the value add method to really help you answer interview questions better, I would really, of course, want to answer any of those questions that you have right now. So just say hello in the comments, and if you have any questions, or even if you have any questions that you've really struggled with, like if you're like, okay, Mercedes, that sounds great, but like how do I answer this question, right? Like how does the STAR method really align with this particular really hard interview question that I don't even know how to answer? So let me know in the comments if that is you. So I talked about the tell me about yourself that really scares everybody. So I know this, like, well, I don't know how to talk about myself. I'm not used to talking about myself. Well, I'm going to kind of do a little my own response to the tell me about yourself in the STAR method from start to finish, so that can hopefully help you kind of understand the structure for answering interview questions in that format. So we have, trying to make sure I'm not missing anything on this training. I don't think I am. So tell me about yourself. So hello, my name is Mercedes. I really regard myself as a talent acquisition specialist, but I also have, in my previous role, been a human resources generalist. So I really pride myself in really understanding almost all aspects from a human resources standpoint to really be a strategic partner to you and your group. One of the ways that I've done that is one of the things I'm most proud about in my career is having built a complete, from start to finish, recruitment process, including the implementation of an applicant tracking system. And so one of the things that I did is take our very reactive recruitment process, and I built a candidate pipeline over the course of a year and a half, where we had absolutely 0 candidates to more than 50,000 candidates in our candidate pool. Of those, we had about 4,000 candidates that were actively in our pipeline that we could really use to better retain talent in our recruitment process, and then move them into the hiring process as we were moving through. So really, I was better able to capture talent, keep them engaged, and make sure that we're hiring the best talent out of our pool. I've known that recently your organization is looking to really assess how you engage let's say, professionals, candidates in your recruitment process. And I'm really looking to use that expertise to help you build a better recruitment process, hire and attract better and more talented candidates. And I'm really excited to talk to you more about that through the course of our interview. So you can see there that I answered the question point blank, just a very cursory overview of my career. Then I also highlighted a specific aspect of my career using a STAR story, and then I added value for the particular employer, right? So I'm talking to you and a computer, so it's not as aligned as it probably could be based on the role, but you kind of get the idea already, right? Okay, so I don't see any questions from you, although I have quite a few people on the live. So hi, I'm glad you're here. That being said, I don't have any questions, and I do want to quickly share with you, as I promised at the beginning, more about my bootcamp interview that I have coming up. So I'm just going to share my cute little graphic because it makes me happy, right? So my Show Up, Show Out bootcamp, interview bootcamp, is coming up on May 9th. So we're doing that from the 3 p.m., to 5. It's going to be a 2-hour boot camp where I'm going to go over everything interview related. So it's going to include everything from interview basics, like what we're talking about today, more in depth, but also how to prepare before your interview. So you're like, what information do I need to know? How do I need to prepare? Like, how do I do my mock interviews at home? Things like that to make sure you're prepared. But then also, what should you do during the interview? How should you close the interview? How should you follow up after an interview? Those types of things that I think people really sometimes need some clarity on, and creating a strategy to make sure that they're interviewing well, both before, during, and also the things that come after an interview. So I'm going to be talking about a lot of those things. Wow, sorry if you heard the sirens. Okay, so those types of things are what I'm talking about in the interview boot camp, but I'm also talking about a lot of mindset things. So for me, I know that there's a lot of individuals in my community who interviewing is just absolutely nerve-wracking. And if you saw my live yesterday, I told you how one of the opportunities that I was extremely excited for, I was also very nervous about because I just really wanted the job, and so all the nerves were just kind of there. So you can check out that live too. But one of the things I'm sharing with you is in detail how to make sure you overcome those fears in the interview process, and make sure that it's not getting in the way of you being a qualified candidate. Hi, Marion. How are you? Thanks for saying hi. You're the only person that said hi to me. Okay. So again, interviewing 101, the self-confidence boost, also how to make sure that you go into your interview with the right mindset. We're going to be talking about that as well. So going in there with feeling very optimistic, going in there as feeling like your best self, instead of going in there feeling fearful, anxious, or nervous. So we're going to talk about how to do that too. And then I'm also going to be teaching you how you can do an interview cheat sheet. So that's one of my favorite things. I always do it before I go into an interview. I create a cheat sheet of everything that I need to know during my interview, just in case I forget something. I have a list of my star stories. And then I also have questions that I want to ask and things that I need to make sure I do or address before the end of my interview. So I'll be talking to you about how you can make a cheat sheet as well. And one of the things that I'm most excited about is for individuals who are out there that are feeling like, I keep going to interviews, I'm not getting a response. And I just can't figure out what I'm doing wrong. I'm actually going to do a live mock interview session at the end where the individuals who are interested in that can bring forth some interview questions that they are interested in getting some feedback on their answers. So live in the workshop, I'm actually going to ask those questions, and that person can respond, and then I will give them feedback during the session about their interview answer. So that way it can help you not only get the basics, but then also get some live feedback on some interview questions to really understand what might be going good and what might be going wrong when you're answering interview questions. So that is one of the cool things that we're doing in the workshop as well. And then the last thing that I'm also really interested in, sorry, I'm going to share it, is the workbook. So when you're in the class, right, you're going to be getting a whole bunch of information. But of course, after the workshop, there is the responsibility of you to put in some work, right, to create those star stories, to practice those answers, to make sure that you're in the mindset. And of course, to make sure that you're in the right mindset, and then also that you make sure that you're preparing for your interviews correctly. So I'm really providing this workbook for you to be able to take that home after the work. You'll probably already be home, but you know what I mean. Take that home after the workshop and really be able to do the work that you need to do to prepare for your interview, to make sure that you're successful, that you show up as top talent, like I've been talking about this entire live. So that is a brief overview of my interview interview bootcamp, and also how you can, of course, show up as top talent in your job search. So if you guys have any questions about the Show Up, Show Out bootcamp, please let me know. Right now it is with early bird pricing. So until May 1st, you can actually enroll for just $29.99. After May 1st, it's going to increase. So if this is something that you're interested in, if you're really serious about making sure that you show up better in your interviews, that you really are able to position yourself as top talent, if you're tired of being nervous and afraid during your interviews, I think this is certainly something that you should invest in. So I'll go ahead and post the link in the comments so that you can check that out. And if you have any questions afterwards, send me a message, post in the group, whatever that looks like for you. Let me know. I really love being able to show up for you in the group and on our live page so that you can get some training. And hopefully use that to advance your career. So I don't see any questions, and I will see you all next time. I'm definitely doing another live this week, maybe the weekend, who knows, but I'm definitely doing one. So just kind of stay in touch and tune into the next live.